Good day, Chairman and panels. Our study is entitled A Feasibility Study of Establishing Playpals Rails and Trails Park in Batangas City. My name is Aldrin D. Hernandez and my groupmates are
My name is Regine C. Endozo.
Hi, I'm Charlene Joyce Ren.
For our market study, this chapter includes the analysis of markets, that includes nature of business, target market, analysis of competition, and projection of study. For the name of business, we came up to the name Playpals Rails and Trails Park because we make sure that while you're on our facility, you enjoy while making friends. You play while you make pals. Also, rails is one of the equipment used for biking, and trail is a track or path used for biking. For the properties of service, Playpals Rails and Trail Park is an indoor trail park that opens from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. for customer ages 5 to 54 years old. We offer services like bike and skateboard rental, tutorials for basics and tricks, area rentals for events, and safety gear rentals. We also have a security personnel to ensure the safety of our customers and staffs. Playpals will give the best recreational activities and training grounds for those who want to learn and enjoy. This is also beneficial to the crews and groups that do not have their own place to practice and play. For the uses of service, Playpals Rails and Trail Park is an ideal location for tourists, first-timer, family bonding, hangouts, and trainings of professional bikers and skaters. It has ladders, tunnels, bridges, and rollers that create and offer a variety of fun obstacles for biking and skating. For first-timers, it is ideal for those who have zero experience with biking and skateboarding. Basic skills for body positioning, tips, and techniques. Advanced for drill lessons and skill training. For the major users, our major users are the residents of Batangas cities and nearby areas, all experienced bikers and skaters who do not have their own place, and anyone between ages 5 to 54 who wants to learn and enjoy with or without their own equipment. And this age range were determined by the proponents based on interviews done with the groups or crews of bikers and skaters. For the geographical area of business, Playpals provide not only great experience but also safety for customers. The location selected is in Barangay Kumintang Ibaba, Batangas City. This was chosen upon the suggestion of government and gave the permission to use this as a safe place for our customer. Also, this location is accessible and near to the city plaza and city proper, where most of the bikers and skaters place. And this location has a total area of 3,547 square meters. To fully understand the condition of the general market, the proponents use various techniques in gathering information and data to support the study. Before starting the study, the proponents interviewed the crews and groups of bikers and skaters at Batangas City and identified 8 crews that has a total of 325 members. 44 of it were girls and 27 are those kids ages 5 to 10 years old. The proponents used the number of population of Batangas City ages 5 to 54 for the last 10 years 2009 to 2018 and the recorded arrival of local tourists for the last 3 years, the 2016 to 2018. The proponents also considered local tourists because some of the crews outside Batangas cities were collaborating and playing at Batangas City. Proponents considered 400 randomly selected respondents for the survey. The number of the respondents was derived from the total number of population and total number of tourist arrival using the Slovenes formula. To identify the number of sample size of residents and tourists, the proponents used the number of crews interviewed and the total number of respondents based on Slovenes formula. Through this, the proponents identified 272 respondents from the residents of Batangas City and 128 respondents for the local tourists of Batangas City. The survey results from the residents of Batangas City shows that 240 out of 272 or 88.2% are willing to avail the service, and only 32 of 272 or 11.8% of the population are not willing to avail the service. And for the local tourists, the survey shows that 116 of 128 or 90.66% are willing to avail the service, and only 12 of 128 or 9.4% are those who are not willing to avail the service. It clearly shows that there can be a high demand of Playpals in the near future. The demand is the quantity of goods and services that the customers are willing to avail and pay. The demand for Playpals Rails and Trail Park was determined to be the basis for marketability of the services offered. The demand in this study is the resident of Batangas City ages 5 to 54 years old, the local tourists, and those ages 5 to 54 who are willing to avail the service. For the historical demand in this study is the residents of Batangas City ages 5 to 54 from the year 2009 to 2018, and the local tourist arrival from 2016 to 2018. The data was gathered from the City Planning and Development Office and the City Tourism Office of Batangas City. As you can see from the graph, it shows the number of population of Batangas City from year 2009 to 2018, and it clearly visualizes that it increases and fluctuates. This shows the historical data of tourist arrival in Batangas City from year 2016 to 2018. These were the only data used because it is the only data available at the tourism office. And as you can see in the graph, it clearly visualizes the increased number of local tourist arrival. This data implies that there will be an increased number of demand for Playpals in the near future. These historical data, the residents of Batangas City and the tourist arrival, will be used to determine the projected demand for the next 10 years. Projected demand is the number of possible customers that will avail the service, and the proponents use different statistical method of projection such as arithmetic straight line method, statistical parabolic curve, arithmetic geometric curve, and statistical straight line. This shows the projected number of demand for 2021 to 2030 computed through statistical parabolic method. The proponents use this method because it gives the most approximate projection and shows progressive increase and also presents the lowest standard deviation. As you can see, for the graphical representation of the projected number of demand, it clearly visualizes the increase of the demand that indicates the increase in possible customers of Playpals. For the supply, there will be no supply because there is no existing rails and trail park in Batangas City. The project will be the first to offer the rails and trail service that will establish at Batangas City. For the demand supply, this shows the analysis of possible market for Playpals. There is no direct competitor, that means potential market will only depend on the projected number of demand, taking into considerations that the supply is zero. For the market share, this shows the market share of Playpals that has a total of 109,510 possible customers who will rent out equipment, avail tutorials, and rent out the area for events. Under the price study, uh, pricing of the services rendered by the establishments, taking into consideration the kind of services that possible customers will avail. Uh, this is the pricing of each services offered, and this was based from the benchmarking performed at the bike playground and at the playground factory. Under the marketing program, to promote our business, reach out to our targets, and to boost the competition, Playpals will provide promotional activities. Distribution of flyers, tarpaulins, and other social advertisements will be at Batangas City, since it is where the travelers mostly visit. Playpals will also use the online page where anyone can access and look for updates. This will be the logo of Playpals that will serve as the insignia of our business. And this is the business card that will be given to our client for them to contact us urgently. And this will be our Facebook page where they can message us and be updated on the latest happenings on the park.
Chapter 3, the technical study. This chapter deals with the distribution of the resources that will be needed to meet the satisfaction in the market. Also involves the service process and the operation of the service. Also includes the location of the business, the layout and design of the facilities, and the service given to the market. Playpals Rails and Trails Park is a playground for all wheels. It is designed for all things on wheels like mountain bikes to BMX and also skateboards. Um, Playpals offers different services like venue rentals for the competitions, competition events, rental of skateboard and bikes, and also safety gears, tutorials like that. For the service process of the Playpals, the customer shall inquire to the administrative office or contact them through Facebook page or phone calls. For the equipment rental, the customer shall fill up the rental request form and the staff will review the rental request to check if all the information needed is included to that form. After that, the staff will check for the availability of the equipment and then the customer will sign the waiver and pay for the equipment rental through debit or credit card, cash, GCash, or Paymaya. And lastly, after usage, the customer will return the equipment together with the rental request form and the staff get the customer feedback. So next is for biking and skateboarding tutorial. The customer should book online or walk-in process. Then the staff will check for the availability of the instructor. After that, the customer can now proceed to orientation for safety precautions because we all know that safety is the most important. After explaining all the necessary rules and regulations, the customer will need to sign a waiver for agreement between customer and the organization. After that, customer can now proceed to pay and get ready for the tutorial proper and enjoy their experience. And lastly, the staff will take the customer feedbacks either written or through their social media. Next is for area rentals for events like competitions, customer most inquiry first either online, through phone calls or walk-in. Then our staff will check for the availability of the area. And after confirming, customer will now sign the waiver and pay for the service and enjoy the facilities. And lastly, the staff will gather feedback from the customer to help the establishment grow and develop more. Next is for those who have their own skateboard or bikes. They will only sign the waiver and pay for the service fee and be ready to enjoy the facilities. And after that, the staff will get the feedback of the customer. So next is the plan size and service schedule. So Playpals open at 10 a.m. and its closing time is 8 o'clock in the evening. It has a total of 10 hours per day, including 1 hour opening preparation and 1 hour break in the evening. The business will operate 6 days a week with maximum working hours per day, including regular holidays. The total service day per year is 309 to 311 per year, less the Monday and the tertiary maintenance repair. The service schedule for the equipment rental. To determine the possible bikes or skateboard rentals in a year, multiply the possible customer per year to the percentage of bikers, which is 43%, or skater, which is 9%, multiplied to the percentage of those without their own bikes or skateboards, which is the total of 25.97%, multiplied to the percentage of the willingness to avail the rentals, which is 43%, and multiplied the utilization factor. For the safety gears rental, multiply the possible customer in a year multiplied to the percentage of those without their own safety gears, which is 25.97%, multiplied to the percentage of those who will avail safety gears rentals multiplied to utilization factor, and we get the total possible rental in a year. So next is the service schedule for the skateboarding and biking tutorial. The maximum number of the customer per day was based on the number of instructor, multiplied by the number of student each instructor can accommodate three students, multiplied by the number of hours per session, which is 2, multiplied to the number of session per day, then multiply the maximum number of customer per day to the possible number of operations per year to get the maximum customer per year. To determine the possible tutorial in a year, multiply the maximum customer per year to the percentage of willingness to avail the basic or tricks tutorial, then multiply the answer to the percent utilization. Add the possible basic tutorial in a year and the possible tricks tutorial in a year to get the total possible tutorial in a year. So next is the service schedule for area rentals. Possible events in a year were determined by possible operation days multiplied by the willingness to avail the area rentals, which is 34.5%. Then multiply it to the utilization factor to determine the total possible area rentals in a year. So next is the service schedule for practice and play. The maximum customer per day was multiplied to the possible operation days, then multiplied to the percent willingness to avail the practice and play services, which is 48.25%, multiplied to the percentage of customer that own a bike or skateboard, which is 74.03%, To get the possible customer in a year by multiplying the possible customer in a year to the utilization factor, and we get the total possible customer in a year. So next is the machineries and equipment. This table shows the list of equipment needed for biking and skateboarding. This clearly shows the type of equipment, quantity, units, and the total cost of the equipment. This includes skateboards for both kids and adults, BMX, mountain bikes, children's bike, and safety gears like helmets and knees and elbow pads. And the total cost of these equipments for biking and skateboarding is 821,771 pesos. And for this table, show the list of equipment that will be used in the administration office. The total cost of this equipment is 87,554 pesos. Next is for clinic equipment and furnitures. This table shows the list of equipment will be used in the clinic to ensure the immediate response if ever something happens like injuries. The total cost of this is 90,270 pesos. Next table is for comfort room fixtures. This table shows the list of furnitures and fixtures that will be used in the comfort room that will be used by the customer and staff as well. These furnitures and fixture will be purchased on Antonio's Trading Corporations located at Batangas City and has a total cost of 9,480 pesos. So next is for the building location. The proposed business Playpals will be strategically located at Barangay Kumintang, Ibaba, Batangas City. The particular location was chosen on the basis of the following consideration, like the area is easily accessible. Also, the government suggests that is a safety for our customer, and last, near the plaza, which is where the most of the bikers and skateboard plays and practice at night. So this is the location of the proposed park. It will be located near the Bridge of Progress at Barangay Kumintang, Ibaba, Batangas City. It has a total area of 3,547 square meters, but the establishment only used 2,000 square meters for the buildings and parking areas. Next is building layout. The layout design of Playpals Rails and Trails ensures to maximize the space to have effective and efficient space utilization. So next is the building and facilities. One of the main objectives of the Playpals Rails and Trails Park is to provide satisfying services for the target market, which is the residents of Batangas cities and nearby areas at any ages of 5 to 54 years old. So in this table shows the bill of materials of Playpals Rails and Trails Park in Barangay Kumintang, Ibaba, Batangas City, which gives the list of all those costs involves in setting up a Playpals based on the estimation of Engineer Danilo J. Tenorio. The total cost for the Playpals Rails and Trails Park is 30,696,138.70. Next is for the supplies. This table shows the consumable supplies needed in the administration office that has a cost of 4,323 pesos. For the clinic supplies, this table shows the consumable supplies needed in the clinic that has a total cost of 2,756 pesos. Next is for the comfort room supplies. This table shows the consumable supplies needed in the comfort room. This has a total cost of 1,034 pesos. For the cleaning supplies, the this table shows the consumable supplies needed for cleaning, and this has a total cost of 1,055 pesos. For the maintenance supplies, this table shows the consumable supplies needed for maintaining and cleanliness and neatness of the park. The total cost of this is 5,218 pesos. So next is the utilities. For the utilities expense, this table shows the cost of utilities of the business. It includes the internet and telephone connections, water supply, and power supply. Its annual utilities cost has a total of 94,866 pesos. For the advertising expense, the advertising cost refers to the cost that will generate by Rails and Trails Park in promoting the business, and has a total cost of 7,810 pesos. So next is the labor requirement. This table shows the total number of employees and the total cost of manpower requirements. The annual salary for 9 employees will be 1,004,633.28 pesos. And for this table shows the contribution of employers to the benefits of employees, including the SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and 13th month pay, with an annual contribution of 145,290 pesos. So next is the permit and licenses. This table shows the fees and expenses on permits and licenses on establishing the business issued by the Batangas Permit and License Office, or BPLO. The cost of permits and license is 49,571.6 pesos. And for investment costs, this table shows the total cost of initial investment consisting fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed costs include cost of equipment, machineries, land, buildings and facilities, non-consumable supplies, and furnitures and fixtures. On the other hand, variable costs include salaries and wages, consumable supplies, fringe benefits, utilities, permits and licenses, and miscellaneous expenses. The total initial investment cost is 33,643,555.04 pesos. The compute amount will be investment needed by the proprietors of the commercial building to start the said business.
For the financial study, this chapter is the very important part of the feasibility study, since it determines the viability of the proposed project by generating the cost estimates, total initial investment, profitability analysis, and the financial statement for the Playpals Rails and Trail Park. This includes all the construction costs and operating costs. For the project cost, this refers to the investment costs needed before and during the operation of the business. This contains the entire expense to cover all the fixed costs and variable costs of the business. An initial investment of 33,643,555 pesos and 04 centavos is necessary to cover all fixed costs and variable costs of the business. As you can see on the table, this shows the total project cost of the Playpals, which presents total fixed cost of 31,706,268 pesos and 70 centavos and a total variable cost of 1,937,268 pesos and 34 centavos. For the source of fund, the Playpals Rails and Trail Park will be funded by 20 investors and a loan from BPI. A total of 6,500,000 loan that will be paid annually for 5 years, and 1,357,177 pesos and 75 centavos for each of the 20 investors, that will sum up the 33,643,555 pesos and 0.04 centavos of the initial investment. For the basic financial projection, these are the proponents' major assumptions that serves as the foundation for predicting the future of the business. This data was obtained from Dole, Meralco, and Prime Water, where the proponents conducted canvassing. There will be 309 operational days on normal year and a 311 days for the leap year. Next is the salaries and wages will increase by 10% annually, and employee will have their salaries twice a month or semi-monthly. Next is fringe benefits will increase by 10% annually, and consumable supplies will increase by 3% annually, and also non-consumable supplies will increase 3% annually. Permits and licenses vary annually due to the business tax. The utilities cost will increase 3% annually. There will also be a 3% increase for the promotional expense for each year. Also, furnitures and fixtures will have no value at the end of their 10 years useful life. Equipment will have 5% residual value for 10 years. The building residual value will be 5% of the original cost at the end of 50 years. Playpals is also expected to have 4 years payback period where the organization regained their initial investment. For the projected income statement, this deals with the profitability of the business. This also is the report of results of business operation for 10-year period. It also shows the operating revenue earned and the expense incurred for a period of time. It shows that Playpals will generate income since there is a positive difference between the revenue and expense, which indicates net income. Net income for the period is computed first by determining the income before tax. Income before tax is the difference between gross income and the total operating expense. Once income before tax is determined, income tax is subtracted from it, resulting to the net income for the period. For the projected cash flows, this shows the cash inflows and outflows activities of the business according to its operating activities, financing activities, and investing activities. This is also used to estimate the resources that will be generated in the future in the ability of the business to meet its financial obligation. This also determines the cash ending balance of a period. This is computed by determining the total beginning cash balance of a period. And to get this, add the cash provided by operation to the cash ending balance of the previous year. Once total beginning cash balance is determined, subtract the disbursement from it, and this will result to the cash ending balance of the period. For the projected balance sheet, this gives the information about the financial position of the business in 10 years. It is also the summary of assets, liabilities, and owner's equity at a period of time. To compute the assets, total current asset is added to the total non-current assets. To compute the liabilities and partner's equity, get the sum of the total liabilities and the total number of partner's equity. To prove that the financial statement is balanced, the total amount of assets should be equal to the total liabilities and partner equity. Next is the financial ratios. This will help the decision makers create relevant and timely decisions for the business. This also shows the profitability, growth over time, cash solvency and liquidity of the business. Under the financial ratios are liquidity, profitability ratio, and risk ratio. Under liquidity is the current ratio, and under profitability ratio is the net profit margin, return on assets, and return on equity. And under the risk ratio are the debt ratio and the debt to equity ratio. For the current ratio, this measures the company's ability to pay the short-term and long-term obligation. This also evaluates the current total assets relative to the total current liabilities. And this is computed through total current assets over total current liability multiplied by 100. As this table shows, this shows that business will be able to meet all of its short-term obligations since it has a significantly high current ratio. And this figure shows that steadily increase of its current ratio, showing that the business will be able to meet its financial obligation in case of emergencies. Next is the profitability ratio. It is used to assess the ability of the project to generate earnings in relation to its expenses and other relevant costs incurred during a specific period of time. The increasing of profitability ratio means that the company is doing well. Next is the net profit margin. This shows how much of the net sales collected by the company as revenue is translated into profit. This is computed through the net income divided by the net sales multiplied by 100. And this table shows that the net profit margin of Playpals Rails and Trail Park for the projected 10-year operation. The figure also shows that the net profit margin will continually increase. Next is the return of asset. It shows how profitable the company is in relation to the total assets. It is computed through the net income divided by total asset multiplied by 100. And as you can see on the table, it shows the percentage decrease throughout the 10 years, which means that the assets are not fully utilized. The decrease in return of asset is still considered acceptable since there is no return of asset that is less than 5%. And next is the return of equity. This is the company's profitability by increasing how much profit is generated using the money invested by shareholders. It is computed by the net income divided by total equity multiplied by 100. And as you can see on the table and figure, this shows that there is a decrease of the return of equity. That indicates that the company is still competitive enough against competitors since it is not less than 5%. Next is the risk ratio, and it is also called as the relative risk. Examining risk ratio is an important tool that allows the management to consider more about financial movement and trends that occur over time. And for the debt ratio, this measures the extent of a company's leverage. This is also the proportion of company's assets that are financed by its liabilities. To compute the debt ratio, it is the total liability divided by the total asset multiplied by 100. And as shown in the table and figure, it shows the decrease over its 10-period operation. This means that the company is able to successfully increase assets while keeping the liabilities low. For the debt to equity ratio, this measures the company's financial average by indicating how much debt a company is using to finance its assets relative to the value of the shareholders' equity. It is computed by the formula total liabilities divided by total equity multiplied by 100. The table shows that the debt to equity ratio of business is steadily decreasing every year. And as you can see on the figure, the decreasing trend of the debt to equity ratio of the Playpal Trails and Trails Park. Low debt to equity ratio is a sign that the business is able to increase its financial leverage without relying on debts and increasing its liabilities. Next is the net present value. It is the major criterion in considering the profitability of the business. Assuming the 0.10% of interest, the formula that will be used is the income after tax divided by 1 plus percentage raised to n multiplied by 100. As you can see on the table, this shows the net present value of PayPals for 10 years. Using the discount rate of 6% present value of annual savings is shown to be greater than its investment cost, therefore proving that the business is financially and economically feasible and profitable. For the financial internal rate of return, the interest rate at which the net present value of all cash inflows and outflows from a project or investment is equal to 0. This is used to evaluate projects or investments. The table shows the FIRR of Playpals is 30.967%. This means that business is accepted due to the fact that it is greater than the general internal rate of return assumption, which is 6%. For the payback period, this is the length of time it takes to recover the initial investment used in establishing a business. And using the accumulated method, the formula used is the total investment cost divided by the quotient of the total net income and the number of years, and has a quotient of 2 years and 10 months. By using the interpolation method, the proponents determined on what year the cumulative net income will finally exceed the initial investment and then applied the formula to calculate. The formula used is 1 plus initial investment minus the cumulative of the first year divided by the cumulative of the second year minus the cumulative of the first year. That gives us an answer of 3 years and 2 months. Lastly, on the payback period using the simple method, this can be determined on what years does the present value becomes positive. The formula used is 3 plus the present value of the third year divided by the net income of the fourth year. That gives us an answer of 3 years and 2 months. For the financial analysis summary, this is the summary of the financial study of Playpals Rails and Trails Park. The business has been considered accepted in 9 out of 9 parameters, therefore proving that Playpals is financially feasible and acceptable. For the financial statement, this will tell whether the Playpals will be able to meet its long-term debt commitment and whether the company is using its physical asset efficiently or whether the firm is generating enough return for its shareholders. This includes the income statement, statement of cash flows, and balance sheets.
Chapter 5, the Socioeconomic Study. This chapter will determine how the project will affect the prices, the income, taxes, and the community. So we have the economic benefits. Since the number of bikers and skaters in Batangas City and nearby areas are continuously growing, with the establishment of Playpals Rails and Trails Park, the following socioeconomic benefits will be generated. The direct benefits. So, Playpals Rails and Trails Park to be established at Kumintang Ibaba, Batangas City. It is a playground for bikes and skateboards from BMX to mountain bikes. Since we know that the tourism has become an important sector on the development of country's economy, so the proponents consider the advocacy of the tourism as one of the major concerns since tourism has a big impact on the economy. It will not just have make additional employment opportunities, but also it can expand the domestic source of skilled manpower. The establishment of Playpals Rails and Trails Park will be directly beneficial to the government, to the owners, administrative staff, the instructors, maintenance, security guard, and the physical nurse. It will help the government to gain additional revenue through the taxes that will be paid by the employees and the business itself, while it will help the owner to make money from the profits that will be gained from their investment, and it will provide jobs for the people because they will be the one who will serve the customers of the Playpals Rails and Trails Park. Next is the benefits as a result of the business. So Playpals Rails and Trails Park is a business that will provide services that will give the best recreational activities and training grounds not only for professional bikers and skaters but also for those who wants to learn tricks. Playpals offers different activities that and can be enjoyed by bikers, skaters, families, group of friends, and anyone who wants to enjoy and relieve some stress. This figure shows the socioeconomic contribution of the Playpals Rails and Trails Park, and it has three aspects: the government, the customers, and the employment. So under the government, it will help to increase tourism, community development, and increase their revenue. While in the customers, it will give enjoyment, thrilling, and the quality service and the customer satisfaction. And in the employment, it will become the income for workers and improve quality life. Chapter 6: Organization and Management Study. This chapter represents the different aspects of the organization and management in establishing the Playpals Rails and Trails Park. The political and legal consideration. Before establishing a business, there are certain things that need to be considered to register and to legalize the business that must be accomplished. First, it should have an initial approval by the local government and follow all the guidelines in order for it to be permitted and operate. The business also needs to be registered at the DTI to make sure that it has a unique name. Number one is the applications of mayor's permit. So Playpals Rails and Trails Park must file the legal documents in the Batangas City Municipal Hall Business Permit and Licensing Office to ensure that the standards are met and the business complies with the specific requirements of the business locale. Under this applications of mayor's permit is the zoning certificate. The business must have a zoning certificate as a confirmation that a particular land use or structure is allowed under the zoning code. Next is the building permit. It is an official approval issued by the local government agency that allows the business owner or the contractor to proceed with the construction of the property. Then we have the sanitary and plumbing permit. It is a permit that issued by the local health authority for an establishment to operate, be it food or non-food establishment. Then we have the electrical permit. This permit is required for the installation or alteration, replacement, or repair of electrical and communication wirings. Then we have the certificate of completion. It is a document certified by an architect or an engineer um, for a certain project has been completed in accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in a job contract. So next we have the Barangay Business Certificate. Since the Playpals Rails and Trails Park will be located at Barangay Kumintang Ibaba, the investor should have a barangay business permit issued by the said barangay. Then we have the City Environmental Certificate. It indicates that the proposed project or will not cause a significant negative impact on the city environment. Next is the fire safety clearance. Every business must have the fire safety clearance because it involves the safety of the people who will be staying at the building. Of course, we have the business permit. Um, it acts as a proof that the business follows certain laws and ordinance. Then we have the sanitary permit to operate, to ensure that aside from the safety of the people that will be entering the establishment, the health and sanitary office will inspect business establishment about the cleanliness of the surroundings and its office spaces. Then we have the health certificate. It is an official document that describes the health status of an individual. Project organization and management. Number 1. Form of business ownership. The type of ownership for the Playpals Rails and Trails Park rental service is a partnership. Number 2. Organizational structure. This figure shows the organizational chart of Playpals Rails and Trails Park. So it is composed of the business owners, administration staff, the instructor, physical nurse, maintenance, and security guard. Number 3, the manpower requirements. So the criterion for choosing an employee shall be well analyzed if they will be beneficial to the management of Playpals Rails and Trails Park. So for the first job position, it will be the administrative staff. So an administrative staff, they will be the one who's responsible for the majority of the administrative duties in the company. So an administrative staff, it's either male or female, 25 years old and above, must have a bachelor's degree, solid knowledge of office procedures, excellence in verbal communication skills, experience with management software like MS Office, MS Excel, and MS Word. So, um, a administrative staff should possess a strong team spirit and strong relationship with clients. Next is the instructor. So the instructor is the one who's responsible for mentoring and guiding the customer, especially those beginners. So the job specification for instructors, it's either male or female also, 23 years old, at least high school graduate, a professional biker or skater with experience in teaching biking or skateboarding lessons, excellence in verbal communication skills, and possesses strong team spirit and relationship with clients. So, next job position is the physical nurse. Um, they will be the one who's responsible for attending the first aid and assist those customers who are in need of medical assistance. So the job specification for physical nurse, it's either male or female, 23 years old and above, must be a registered nurse, must be caring and compassionate, excellence in verbal communication skills, has the ability to carry out requisite treatment and medication immediately, has ability to deal with emotional and pressured situations. The next job position is the maintenance. They will be responsible for cleaning the facilities and the equipments. The job specification for maintenance, it's either male or female, 18 years old and above, at least high school graduate, must be responsible, patient, hardworking, and respectful to customers and co-employees, must have a knowledge on repairing and cleaning of bikes, skateboards, and safety gears, and has the ability of cleaning the facilities and keeping it maintained in a good condition. So the last position is the security guard. They secure the safety of the premises and personnel, monitoring and inspecting equipment and building, and permitting entry. So the job specification for security guard, um, it's either male or female, 23 years old and above, at least high school graduate, has proven work experience as a security guard or relevant position, must be physically and mentally fit, has undergone security training with diploma, has excellent knowledge of public safety and security procedures and protocols, and has integrity and professionalism.